A couple things before we get started. First of all, Tyrese will not be available tonight. Secondly, after the game the other night, I was asked about the last play, which was an unusual-looking play that got us a pretty good look at a three-point shot. And I said, I misspoke and said that it was a play that Mike Weiner had come up with. Mike came to me after the game and insisted that I correct that. It was a play that Jenny Busick came up with. It's an interesting story. It was born of experience she had playing flag football back quite a while ago. And her and Sue Bird had talked about that concept of play, using some football type concepts to try to get a good look late in the game. And so, interesting how, some real WNBA influence here on our game. And a couple years ago at a coaching clinic, Nick Nurse talked about something similar. And, having watched the CFL where they have unusual motion rules, he came up with some very creative stuff where he would start guys in motion before the ball would actually be handed to the inbounder. So anyway, I just wanted to clear that up. And also just, I just wanted to mention, with the passing of Bill Walton today, just how much he meant to me and so many people that I'm close to. I've been on a text message thread with our 86 team, and some of the memories are, they're beyond priceless. He has stayed in touch with me. He's been texting me a lot throughout our playoffs. I read some of his text messages to our players during our prep session before we went out on the court, just so they could realize the impact that they're having on people all around basketball. Bill really likes our team, liked the way we played. And I have him to thank probably also for me being married to my wife, Donna. Our first date was to a Dead show in Washington, D.C., and I called Bill and I said, look, this is 1987. I got a date with a girl that I think is pretty cool. I'd love to go to the Dead show at Capitol Center. I don't have any tickets. Can you help? And he said, just go to the back door, ask for Dennis McAnally, tell him you're Rick Carlisle from the Boston Celtics, and everything will be just fine. I said, really? And he said, oh yeah. So I drove up to the loading dock, and so Donna was with me. We hadn't known each other that long. And I said, just wait here a second. She's like, what? She said, do you have tickets? I said, just give me a couple minutes here. So I walked down and I knocked on the door. The whole thing ended up working out. I walked back up the loading dock ramp with two all-access laminates. One said Bill Walton and one said Susie Walton. And so we were set up for the show, and we were actually on stage watching the show. And during the break, we kind of wandered into the back and just opened up a door and ended up sitting down with Jerry Garcia, Bob Weir, and Mickey Hart for about 15 minutes, just shooting the shit. I mean, it was an unbelievable night, and obviously it's a good first date. So anyway, I'm thankful to him. I know there's been a lot of talk today about what he meant to the whole world. To me, he was a living, breathing event in history, just walking around. He was involved in so many events, in pop culture, in sports. He played drums for the Grateful Dead in the pyramids in Egypt. He's a guy that did everything. And there's been a lot of talk today about, how he speaks in hyperbole so much and stuff. But he defiantly competed for every moment in life to be the greatest it could possibly be. That's the best way to describe it. I mean, I talked to Luke today for a few minutes. They're doing okay, but this has been tough, obviously, and it'll continue to be tough. But what an amazing man! There will never be another.
Do you remember the day you met him? One of your first interactions?
I do. We all assumed he was a vegetarian when he came to Boston because that was kind of what everybody said. And the first time I saw him, he had a huge roast beef sandwich and he was devouring it. And so that's a vivid image. That's a vivid image. But when he came to Boston, our guys were merciless. Just kind of with jokes attacking. Just in a fun kind of way, but in a very competitive kind of way. And when he arrived in Boston, it changed our team that year. He played 80 games and we won a championship. And he certainly extended my career. And he was a game changer on so many levels and in so many people's lives. For such a long period of time. So, it's been emotional. But I'm certain he's in a better place now. I know he was not feeling well.
Rick, I know he went through a lot basketball-wise, just physically. So what was it like to see him reach the mountaintop in '86?
Well, I was a big follower of the NBA, from my youngest days, and followed it really in magazines, mostly growing up. I grew up with 2 Canadian TV stations and 1 American one, and the American one didn't have the NBA. So, that's how I followed basketball. And then finally CBS got the NBA in the mid-'70s. So I watched the '77 series against Philadelphia. Of course, at that time, Dr. J was my favorite player. But the way Portland played in that series was something else. And, I just and at that time, Bill was certainly the greatest player on the planet at that moment, at the end of that series. He was just absolutely spectacular and went through a lot with various injuries, mostly foot injuries, between '77 and '86. I don't know how he stayed with it, with the number of surgeries that he had, but Red Auerbach traded for him in the summer of '85. He came on board and had a bit of a miracle year. He played 80 of 82 games and was Sixth Man of the Year and completely elevated the environment of an already great team with a bunch of Hall of Famers. And so, it was an experience unlike anything you can imagine. But the joy in his face when the final buzzer went off in Game 6 of the '86 finals, I mean, he was absolutely exuberant. And he wouldn't have cared if he made a dime playing the game at that point in time. The competition, the level of competition, the great players he was playing with and playing against, for him, that's what it was always about. How special could those moments be? So I'm fortunate to have been somebody to be around that team. I actually played some that year, and one of the reasons I was able to be in games was because he was on the floor with me, or I was on the floor with him, I should say.
What were those practices like in '86, just with the Dream team and competing alongside Bill?
Well, it changed everything. Things got extremely competitive, and there was a tote board in the locker room. Who won scrimmages each day, and it was It was very close. It was very close, and the guys on the green team will tell you that we had more wins than them, and the guys on the white team would say you're full of shit, and all that kind of stuff. But it was supercharged every single day, and look, it was only about one thing, and that was the title. And so when that came to fruition, it was amazing.